So next we have the perimeter team who went out to PennApps and actually took home the award for best mobile hack.
Perimeter, do you need the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Keep it up.
Yeah. So they're just gonna show off what they built.
We're going to need to plug this into the wall.
Alright, get a chair. Here, Brett. Okay.
It's still slash update.
was a hackathon. It was 2 weeks before that at the University of
Okay, so I guess I'll introduce what we did. We set up a kind of system for using GPS smartphone data to track where a person is, and then using that to turn on and off hardware. So basically, if you go to I thought this would be up on the screen, but if you go to go there, somebody with a laptop go there.
It's tinyurl.com/m_flight_on.
Yes.
Oh, they're
Type that
dashes?
in.
Oh, hey.
They're not underscores?
No, those are hyphens. Yes, dashes. M-light-on.
Thank you very much.
Those, yes, this is not
the
very
right
nice
thing
type.
as
This is a very basic font. tinyurl.com/m.
TinyURL.
Yep. .com.
It's hard to read. That's what we're saying.
Oh, is the color bad?
Use red. It's like the same color as the blackboard.
Oh, that's better.
Wait, what is this? Name equals the 1 and status. What were the device IDs?
Device 2, I think. Okay, well, anyways, it's set up on, it's set up on this computer. So we can just show you and describe what's going on. So basically what happens is when we go to that URL, it sends a API request to the server that's running on this computer. And this computer talks to an Arduino and tells it to turn on the light.
That's
So basically what we envision is using a smartphone application to track where a person is and say turn on a light when they go home or when they leave their office. Or like there are obviously more things you can do with it, like turn on the heat when somebody leaves their office so that their house is warm. And you don't need to program a thermostat to like predict when you're going to be home. You can do stuff like there are electronic locks on the market, and you could have your phone ping you when you're approaching your house and say, do you want to unlock this door? Type in a password. It's pretty open-ended. So yeah, pretty much if you type that in, or if you type replace off with on with off, then you can control this light or anything that we plug into that network.
Yeah, I can talk a little about the app. So the approach of the app was to give users the ability to detect, like theoretically, automatically, the devices that are on their perimeter network. That would obviously involve some handshaking, fancy code. But just what we have here are some devices that we had. We actually had a blender at the PennApps demo, which is a lot of fun. Except That was the one we couldn't get to work, was it?
No,
No,
it
no,
worked.
no,
We
it worked.
we didn't have
Oh.
anything in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So so it gives you the ability to trigger to enable or disable the devices themselves, and any of your fences, which I'll get to in a second, that interact with that device will follow that status. So what was my last location? Okay, so that's pretty close to my apartment. So if I want to say, I think that's the right thing. Oh, hey, the button's gone. Crap. Okay, so
He's been working on it
a little bit.
since the hackathon.
Device 2, right? Was that the same one? I don't even know if that was the same one. So I'm just going to select all of them because somewhere it will trigger it.
I think it's a number 2.
Okay.
Yes, number 2.
So then you get this nice little thing which hopefully will work. Defaults to a radius of 10 meters. We had some issues with the actual app. It was what, like 3 a.m. and I'm running all around like Penn's campus trying to see, oh, is it gonna trigger? Is it gonna trigger? And it didn't until I got like half a kilometer away, even when it was set to 10 meters. So I think there's some interesting things happening in the code, and trust me, I've gotten to the point where I pulled my hair out trying to figure it out. So now, just turning it on, the awesome thing about it is I can be doing whatever else. Say I'm a Circle K member like I am. And then, yeah. Yeah. So just for a simulation, I'm going to change the location here, and hopefully, let's just say, let's go visit Apple. Bam. Perimeter. You have left the perimeter defined by the fence. So I go in there. Why are slow animations on? Yeah. So do that. And then if I go back, can somebody turn that off for me? Anyone?
It's made out of an earplug, so.
Okay. So if I go back home, bam. So that's basically it right now. I would love to get it working eventually with the core location framework, which it's pretty cool and pretty powerful what you can do with it. But there are also, excuse me, a lot of other third-party like companies now that are starting up that are really based on location services. And you can add the framework in, and it does some API calls every time you wander a certain distance from a radius that you set up. But it's really cool because it's adaptable, unlike Apple's thing where you'd have to write the code to do it. It's automatically adaptable. So say like, I don't know, you're 5 miles away from this fence that you have set up. It will save your battery life by only pinging your location like every time you move maybe like a kilometer or so closer. And as you get closer, the updates become more frequent and thus more accurate. So we're gonna be going a lot more in depth with the app too. The hopes is to make it completely customizable to whatever you want, and like I said, theoretically have it auto detect like the devices on your network. That's a long way down the road, hopefully.
Other applications are stuff like, just quickly, like imagine walking past a restaurant and like your phone communicates with the server that's like a list of all the nearby restaurants, and then offers you like the option to pre-program an order and just like click a button. Now that's sent to a server running in the restaurant.
You know,
Can
you
be,
walk
like,
in,
time saver.
cup of coffee's good to go.
Yeah, like when you leave. No, it's mostly the same thing except for hardware.
Yeah.
Okay, questions? Yes.
So, like, it looks pretty solid, but, like, are there other apps? I mean, like, this isn't, like, a brand new idea, so, like, are there other people that have a similar thing, or are you guys kind of far ahead of
There are. We found somebody that has, I think Belkin has, like, switches that you can turn on and off with your smartphone, like a remote. We don't know of any specific ones that use geofences.
Also, like, how is it, so it's just like an R20
this is hackathon hardware.
Yeah.
Like we
Or
we
would
use
it be?
mostly like half of the things are things that we got for free there. So like
So it's just an Arduino basically.
it's just our
Yeah.
but we have plans for making like cheaper hardware that's like also wireless.
Yeah, we want to make the devices so you don't have to have it like tethered or anything. And one thing that we discussed was the possibility of having like a central hub in your home, kind of like a programmable thermostat, but that would allow you to authenticate your mobile devices with it, so somebody can't just like walk into your house running this app and be like, oh hey, I can control your lamps. So you'd have to authenticate through that, and it would also be a way of like all the wireless devices in the house or wherever would communicate directly through that rather than being available over Wi-Fi, because let's be honest, there's a possibility of exploits with that. So.
So is the mobile device talking to the Arduino directly, or you are using a server?
We're using a server.
Talking to the server, and the server sends command to the Arduino?
Yep.
So what kind of backend framework are you using?
It's hacked together right now.
Okay.
So, you want to talk more about that?
The actual server. So the server that's running is Python, and it just takes like, it's not a file server, it's just a server that just takes an argument and it's like, okay, we'll pretend this is an API that's running a program, and it's just like, it just grabs the variables that you're sending to it, and then like if you look at the links, it just grabs those variables, and it's like, okay, Arduino, go on, Arduino, go on. It's pretty
variables that are being called.
You talked a little bit about the API calls. How frequent are those with the core location GPS services? Like, what's the radio usage or like wireless usage that you have? Is it just constantly calling?
Okay, so currently, using just the core location framework that Apple provides, there are none. The only API call is when the fence is triggered. Either you enter it or exit it, and that's obviously what triggers the server and therefore your hardware device. With the other framework that we found, that third party, it depends on how accurate you want it to be. And the trade-off becomes battery life and everything. Like I mentioned, they kind of have this idea of making it adaptable, which I think is great, because when you're far away, it's like, oh, only check in like the next time you move a kilometer or 10 kilometers, like that. So that saves your battery life, and then as you get closer, it becomes more and more frequent. But these are like third-party companies, so they're making a business model off of it, where if you have like, so many customers or so many API calls within like an hour, you have to pay more. So.
Can the app take like different location providers, as in like not just GPS, but maybe like a Wi-Fi based location service or like cell phone towers?
As far as I know, Apple incorporates some of that in their core location framework. I know just from reference, I know that like if you have your Wi-Fi off on your iPhone and you set some sort of like run a GPS-based app, it'll say, oh hey, turn on Wi-Fi to enable better accuracy. So I know that they're doing some of that triangulation, but there are other companies, again, like different from the one that I was talking about earlier, that really do things more based on cell tower triangulation. I forget what that was called. I don't even remember off the top of my head. There is one that like most devices use in Android and whatever. What is it?
No, I'm probably wrong. That's from a Batman movie, no?
What'd you say?
I thought it was Skyhook.
I think it is Skyhook, yeah.
It's also from Batman.
Skyhook Wireless, yeah. That's it. So they kind of use the Wi-Fi triangulation plus GPS, and it makes it more accurate. The only potential issue that we're going to have is when it gets down to setting a tiny radius. In Apple's code, as far as you can go, is about 10 meters, so 30-ish feet. Granted, for the applications that we foresee, we don't think you would want to set anything smaller than that. But within a building, then becomes an issue. Like, what if you're, third floor of a 10-floor apartment building? You might not really get great GPS or Wi-Fi triangulation. Because a lot of those, everything that does Wi-Fi triangulation does it mostly on, I haven't found any yet that do it based on complete signal strength, just tracking like where you're moving about in a room, because I think that would be some pretty intense math. A lot of them base it mainly on Wi-Fi signals that they already know, like in that area, that have been entered into their